Alrighty, so we are here for our final panel of this year's Texas Woodworking Festival, and it's all about taking woodworking classes. My name's Kyle Barton. I'm with the MWA podcast. It's great to have you here. And joining us today are the founders and executive directors, or grand poobahs, of two of some of the outstanding woodworking schools here in the U.S. One, of course, is Austin Waldo with the Austin School of Furniture, and we have Kate Swan with the Florida School of Woodwork. So, I was hoping there would be fisticuffs or something, but darn it. No, so let's, before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into woodworking. Kate, you have the microphone. We'll start with you.
I do have the microphone. I have the power. So when I came to the U.S., I lived in beautiful Portland, Oregon, and I had one of those money pit houses where every weekend it was a major project that you had to do. And I started buying tools and didn't have any arterial blood spurt, but I didn't really know what I was doing with them. So I started making furniture that fell apart. And I ended up going to the Oregon College of Arts and Crafts in the evening program for about 4 years. People started asking if they could buy what I was making, much to my sort of astonishment. And that's how I began my furniture making business. And when I moved to Tampa, Florida, I had the audacity to put an ad in the Yellow Pages, which I know so dates me. And when I finished my graduate degree, I had a fully fledged furniture making business going.
Austin, what about yourself?
Thank you. So my grandfather was actually a woodworker. He did a lot of turning, so my first experience was actually turning on the lathe, and did that a little bit as a kid, and that kind of turned into general handiness, and did some construction and carpentry, high school into college, and that kind of turned finer and finer into furniture, and then have been making fine furniture, custom furniture since the college days. And that kind of grows into other businesses and the festival and the school and so on.
All right, fantastic. Well, since y'all are both executive directors of furniture schools, and we got some listeners out there that say, hey, I might want to take a woodworking class, but I've never done that before, what should I expect? What's, going to be required of me? What are the hours? Those kind of things. Tools.
I think Kate
especially about tools and materials. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think Kate would agree that they should expect the best week of their life. It's really going to change your life, and you should all sign up for woodworking classes, of course. But every class, especially at the Austin School, is very different. So there's not one particular thing that you would need across the board. But we have classes that are 2 hours long. We have classes that are 7 days long, and so on. So every class is going to be a little different. Some of the beginner classes, we provide all the tools and all the materials. Some of the more advanced ones, you'll bring a few of your own tools. You get to select lumber or bring your own lumber. So it's a little bit of a different setup for each class, but the time frames are going to be generally either an evening, a weekend, or a multi-day class.
Yeah. Are there any general class sizes, typical class sizes, I would say?
Well, we can do up to 12 students.
Okay, so
generally,
12
at the school in Austin, we have an assistant for every class. You have an assistant and a main instructor. We like to keep at least a 1-to-6 ratio if we can for good, high-quality education.
Okay. So, Kate, what about the Florida school?
So the Florida school is in a beautifully sort of renovated old building, and so every student has their own workbench, and then there's a set of tools on the walls, so if you're flying in, you don't have to bring any tools. We do weekend and week-long classes. Sometimes they run a little longer than that based on the project, but I think one of the biggest things that as you're coming into a class is to really understand that it's your own journey that you're working on, and that's one of the things that we tell students when they come in, is not to look at what their neighbor is doing on the neighboring bench, but to look at their own, at building out their own craft, at making sure that they're really active learners in the process, that they're asking the questions, and that they are really picking the instructor's brain dry, right? That's what you're there for. That's what we want every student to do, is to be a very active learner in what they're in. So a lot of students come in thinking, people are going to be better than me. People are going to, like, where am I going to fit into this? And we remind them that they are their own best advocates. They're the ones that, there's a reason that they're there. We want them to leave more informed, with better knowledge and better skills than when they arrived, and they have to be very active about that. So we tend to find that when students come in, that they're full of energy, and when they leave, their brains are full, and they need to go lie down.
Excellent. Well, so Austin, what kind of feedback are you getting from some students that have attended classes there at the Austin School of Furniture?
Yeah. Students always give great feedback, and we welcome that all the time. And so they're always talking about the great kind of instructions they're getting while they're there. It's always helpful to have somebody looking over your shoulder of, hey, try this, do that a little different. So the one-on-one experience is always really important. So a lot of that is part of the enjoyment and experience that's going to lead to that kind of learning curve that we really want to see through the class. And of course, we always try to do activities after class as well, being in Austin. So boards, beer, barbecue, the 3 big B's. We always like to make sure that happens.
All right, fantastic. Kate, what about yourself?
What's the question?
The question again was, what kind of feedback are you getting from your students that have attended classes?
So our students are average. They span a sort of really wide spectrum. So we have beginning woodworkers all the way on up to advanced students. And it is quite interesting when the beginning woodworkers, and probably you've all had the similar experience when you started woodworking, that when you start out, you suddenly realize that, not suddenly maybe, but this is a craft that is really deeply engaging. And so they go through that beginning woodwork week, and they go, I love this. It's sort of, they suddenly find their passion, they find something that they can do for the rest of their lives. And it's just, that's a beautiful thing that students experience. For the students that are more advanced or deeper into it, there's often sort of a lot of aha moments during the week. And, mostly when they come to the end of class, they are deeply thoughtful about their own craft and what they're going to do and how they're going, what are they going to do when they get home, how they're going to adjust their work practices. So it really is dependent upon the level of the class, the project of the class, often the instructor as well. Instructors bring their own personality and character to a class. So I don't know about you, Austin, but I love having a school where where we can see those reactions of the students. It's a very gratifying, rewarding place to be, to sort of bring this craft out to lots of people.
Well, thank you. Well, next question for you, Austin. So I know a lot of people say when they're thinking about taking a woodworking class, hey, I'm not the fastest woodworker. I'm afraid I'm going to slow the class down. And also, what happens if I mess up something in class? And, am I set back? I'm never going to be able to recover. So what's your advice to those folks that have those kind of apprehensions?
Right. Part of what we're teaching is confidence. So we want people to gain confidence and experience through the class. So having an assistant is always helpful to kind of keep everybody up around the same level. So we definitely have extra help to kind of keep people close enough to each other. And if we need to adjust a project, we definitely can do so. But I think any professional furniture maker is going to tell you one of the most important things that you do in furniture is fixing mistakes. So I wouldn't say that a professional doesn't make mistakes. They just have a better understanding and speed into how to fix those and how to never tell anyone that you ever made a mistake.
Yeah, that's the bane of hobbyist woodworkers. We always tell everything about the mistakes.
So I would agree 100% with that, and I think that one of the things of building woodworkers and building craftspeople is teaching them that it's part of that joy of what we do is becoming the world's best problem solvers, right? You know, that's part of the fun of being a woodworker is you go like, dang, I just screwed that up, you know. And so learning that it's okay to make mistakes, but teaching people how to get themselves out of it, how to think about what they're doing as an opportunity to evolve in perhaps a different way or a step forward is always something that we do as furniture makers. It is hard in class because your brains are busy learning and you constantly want to do, even though you shouldn't be comparing yourself to your neighbor. But that's where the caliber of instructors really makes a difference, and that's where the supporting staff really make a difference because they can help those students keep moving forward. But really, for us, the goal is to go like, hey, you've got this craft for the rest of your life. Isn't it wonderful to be a problem solver in this?
Fantastic. Well, so to wrap up our questions, at least from me, why would you advise, what's the difference between taking an in-person class or doing something like on YouTube and books, and what are the advantages of that in-person class?
Well, as a recent graduate of the School of YouTube, I would say that you really should be doing all of that. Books, YouTube videos, and taking in-person classes. So getting that knowledge base from books and from the good YouTube videos, which is hard to know what's the right instruction coming from YouTube, and then taking that knowledge and getting hands-on practice, muscle memory, in-person critique at a school, that's really important. So all of those within your toolbox is really what you want to do to kind of advance as a woodworker. And then one of the most important things you can do is if having a place to then go home and practice that, go apply it, is really important.
Okay.
So this is going to really date me, but I grew up pre-YouTube, and I started woodworking pre-YouTube, right? So I found that solo learning was a really hard thing to do. You can try to figure things out, and it's a relatively unsafe world without instruction. And as YouTube has evolved, there is a lot more out there, but it is hard to find good instruction right there. So the thing that we find when folks come in with who are self-taught via YouTube is that they often do quite dangerous things, or they don't necessarily have a good full understanding of the context in which they're making decisions, or the things that the process in its entirety, and the challenge is to sort of get some of those bad habits out and broaden the understanding. I think as a learner, when we watch YouTube videos, we watch, then we go do, right? And so we do mimicry of what we see on YouTube, and that's quite hard to do when you're doing complex things sometimes. So to come into class and have somebody standing over your shoulder and go, okay, just move your elbow this way, or take half a step to the left, or raise the butt of the chisel up, or draw this line first, that having an experienced voice watching exactly what you're doing and helping the way you're moving through the process rather than you watching I think is probably one of the most wonderful benefits of coming to a class.
Excellent. Well, so with that, are there any questions from the audience?
Come on, guys, you're precious to us.
Come on. Anything? All right. Well, with that, before we leave you, Kate, where can folks find you on the internet?
Yes, so in the wonderful world of internet, you can find us on Instagram at School of Woodwork, and our website is schoolofwoodwork.com.
Austin, what about yourself?
Yeah, AustinSchoolOfFurniture.com. Same thing on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, you've already found the Texas Woodworking Festival, but there will be a new component that you guys will be getting an email about in a month, which will be the TexasWoodworkingFestival.video for all the educational sessions that we've done this weekend. Those will be available on that new video platform we've built.
So is there going to be a Well, when's the 2025 Texas Woodworking Festival?
in 2025.
2025. Okay. All right. Okay.
So
Okay.
September 13th and 14th will be the next Texas Woodworking Festival. So mark your calendars, back in the same venue, September 13th and 14th.
Fantastic. And my name's Kyle Barton. You can find me at barton.kyle on Instagram and the MWA podcast. So with that, thanks for coming up there, and we appreciate it. And thanks for y'all listening.